South Africa have lost the fourth T20I by 21 runs. It was quite a heart-wrenching performance for me to actually watch. It's quite difficult to watch for me, particularly the last end of our bowling performance and, of course, the batting performance in general. Apart from Quinton de Kock 60 and the 20 from Aiden Markram, no one really put their foot down and showed what they could do. At the beginning, I thought this was a perfect test for South Africa to show what they can do with the bat, chasing. But what it did is it exposed a lot more holes in the South African batting lineup. Holes that we knew were there, but have kind of been plastered up by our great bowling performances in the last couple of matches. We were exposed in the first game. We were exposed again in this game. I was hoping that we could seal the series this time around early and then less pressure on in the last game, and maybe some more experimental phase things can happen in the last game. But now I don't think that can happen. So I'm going to speak to you guys about, myself and Aditya are going to speak to you guys about the fourth T20 and what we thought happened in there and what we thought we can improve on for the next game. We'll also do a little review for the next game. A little preview for the next game, and talk about what we'd like to see in the last T20. We'll also talk a little bit about Themba Bavuma's press conference and some things that he said that I was a little puzzled about. We'll be doing all of that on this particular video. But before we do that, subscribe if you're new, click that notification bell for all future videos, smash that like button, and share this with all your friends and families. Please, guys, let's get into the discussion right now. I'm looking very, very excited to talk to you. But also, you can see that I'm a little bit depressed as well. But let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your review show. I'm your host, Khalid Mohideen. This is the show where we talk about everything that has to do with the T20 series between the West Indies and South Africa. Like I said in my intro, that South Africa obviously lost the match, and unfortunately, that is just why we're sitting right now. We're looking back and trying to figure out what is going down. I think the best starting point for us, or the starting place for us, Aditya, is to start with Bavuma's words, because he had something to say about the bowlers, but I felt that he was a little less critical on the batsmen. I think that he was a little bit more critical on the bowlers, actually, with his description on certain things. Like he said that there's obviously a lot to work on with regards to that and finding our variations, and he spoke about how the bowling attack lost 60 runs at the end over there in the last 4 overs, which is something that we shouldn't be doing. But he never said enough, I feel, about the batters. I think that he should have been a little bit more critical on the batsman, especially on himself as well, because I don't think he's come to the party as a captain in the series. That 42 or 46 that he scored, I don't think that is enough to show that what he's capable of. I think that he needs to do more with the bat. He needs to take a lot more responsibility, because if he's captain, he needs to take responsibility. It's just how it is. I think that certain decisions he's made, certain changes within the bowling has been good. I mean, execution, I think it's more than anything else at the end. He maybe made a little bit of a mistake to bring on Lungi after Andrich got injured. I thought he should have rather brought in Rabada so he could complete his overs. But both of them struggled towards the end of the inning. So this is the type of performance. This last performance was probably the worst performance that we've had in the series, even though the first one we also lost. But I think this was the worst one we had, because there was a lot to talk about with regards to the bowlers at the end, and there's a lot to speak about with the batsmen. Another thing that came out of Themba Bavuma's press conference, which is very interesting, is that he made it very clear that David Miller is their finisher. That is something that he said very clear. He's an old-timer, he's their finisher, and that's what his role is in the particular team. So, Aditya, let's start with your assessment. I've said a lot of things over here, and I don't know if some of it goes in and goes out because I talk too much. But from that perspective, what is your? Let's start with your assessment first. What is your assessment of the game? What are the worst aspects of it for you?
Right. So first, if you're talking about Temba Bavuma's press conference, it was odd. It was an odd one because you're right in that he was quite harsh on the bowlers, and um, the bowling performance was on and off. Let's not forget that the first over that Aiden Markham bowled went for 20 runs, but at the end of 9 overs, they were 63 for 3, which means that 8 overs went for only 40 runs, which is quite a good bowling performance against a powerhouse batting lineup. And then they conceded 60 of the last four, and he said that that's criminal, uh, which is true. But you're also talking about T20 cricket, and it's not unusual that these things happen. You
Yeah,
know,
that
this is
word.
not the
I couldn't remember the exact words that he used. Please use the words because I couldn't remember. Because I remember sitting there and saying, "What? You've been that harsh using those words? Like a word like criminal is quite harsh, isn't it?"
yeah, yeah. Like he called it criminal, but the truth of the matter is that that happens often. You know, 4 overs, 60 odd runs. That's look, given the position that the West Indies were in, uh, you know, perhaps South Africa uh, should have perhaps driven the advantage a bit more. But it's not unusual for a team, particularly like the West Indies, to score 60 of the last four. You know, and with Pollard at the crease, it's definitely not unlikely. You know, so that's fine. The bowlers can have an off day. You know, the bowlers have won them the last two games, so they don't become their skills don't become null and void with
Mm.
one game. Personally,
'Cause-
where I feel, and again, another thing that I found strange about Timba's press conference was that he said that David Miller was struggling for form. I find that a bit odd because David Miller has come in from the PSL, where he's literally in, and he played just a couple of games, but he was smacking it out of the park. You know, I think there was a game between Peshawar, which he plays for, and the team that he plays for, and Quetta Gladiators, where he rescued Peshawar from some, like
mm.
30 for 3, and he took them to 170, 180. He was smacking it out of the park. He was brilliant. So I don't, and he's also been great in the IPL too. So I don't know where this idea of David Miller struggling for form comes from. You know, generally
I think
batting
he's,
conditions have been tough.
mm. but I think he's talking about this period. I'm talking about for South Africa. I think that's what he means. I don't think he's looking at the way they're performing outside of South Africa. Because remember, he doesn't play outside of South Africa, so he can only speak
But
about
see,
the current. But even in the T20 challenge,
he's
leading
been
from the
good.
T20 challenge into the, I mean, I don't think he was amazing in the T20 challenge. To be honest, I expected him to dominate a lot more than he did. I didn't expect someone. A lot of people didn't expect a guy like Zubair Hamza to be on the top of that charts, but it
Yeah.
was. I really thought that David Miller would have dominated the T20 challenge. But I think Bavuma's talking about specifically in this series. Um, I mean, even against Pakistan, he came off a decent tour.
He was
I
very
mean,
good.
against us, yeah. So it was a bit strange some of the stuff that he was saying. My biggest concern is that he never took heat for anything. He never said about. He spoke about himself. He never spoke about himself, and I think that he should have maybe explained him and what he's going through and the form that he's in, because currently he's not in the best form. Let's just be real about it. He's not currently in the best form currently, and I think we deserved or the public deserve a explanation on why he hasn't come to the party and performed the way he has. He even spoke about Riza Hendricks. Um, I mean, he spoke about basically everybody, the middle order and everything, which he includes himself in. But I mean, I would have liked him to actually take more responsibility, don't you think?
Definitely. And I think Bavuma needs to perhaps explain some of the logic behind the decisions that have been made with respect to the batting order. He said that South Africa has been good at the power plays. Fair enough. They've been trying to maintain that intensity between over 7 and 10, understandable. The challenge for both batting groups, perhaps, has been between 10 and 20 overs, right? Because it's not been easy to clear the boundary. So what that tells me is that you need an alternate game plan that perhaps involves harder running between the wickets, rotation of strike, and exploiting different angles on the ground as opposed to just pure power hitting. And if that's the case, then I don't know why Rassie van der Dussen has been moved from 4 to 5. Because if that is the struggle period and you need someone to consolidate, there is no one better in the team than Rassie van der Dussen to be able to play those overs. But Aiden Markram has come in at number 4 and he scored 20 of 20. Aiden Markram was not selected in the team to bat at number 4 and score 20 of 20. Rassie van der Dussen was doing that himself. So I think this is a perfect example of a change that has been implemented, has not worked, and now South Africa, as you said, have found themselves with more questions than answers. So some of this logic needs to be questioned.
You know what the scariest part was for me? Was when he said, there's not much that we can change right now. When he mentioned that, he said, there's certain skills and certain thought processes. So all they can do is have conversations now about what they're going to do because there's not much they can change right now. That scared me because I think that we need to know how we're going to be approaching our batting. We need to know exactly what the roles are for each individual in this team. If what he's saying is correct, that they struggle between those overs in this particular series, then you're 100% right. It should be Rassie that comes in, and Aiden should be coming in at 6 or 5, right? My concern is that they not identifying the role clearly of what Aiden needs to do. That's what they need to decide. And speaking about, yes, definitely they think another seamer all-rounder is going to come into the mix. I'm thinking they're talking about Dwayne Pretorius. And I think Dwayne is the perfect person for that job. He has the ability, 100%. And I'm really sad that we didn't get to see him in this series. I think it's a series that he would have probably really, really benefited from. And it's a series that he could really cement his position in the side. So we need to really sort this out. I think talking about the next series, Aditya, and what I mean the next game and what we should do, I still stick to my guns. I want to see what Janneman can do. I don't think Riza's done enough to cement his spot in the side. He's had 4 games to do it. He scored 142. He showed what he's capable of, I guess. But I think it's time that Janneman gets an opportunity. Why not? I don't think Riza's done enough to really say, like, I'm the number 1 person for this position. Where Quinton has, 100% Quinton has. Quinton has actually played excellently in this game. He's shown everybody how they should bat because he's adapted. Last game, he adapted. He batted a lot slower because he had to bat deep. So if someone could have just supported Quinton at the other end, it would have been a whole different story. So Janneman needs to get an opportunity, and Aiden needs another opportunity. I don't think has been given a long enough opportunity to do so. It can be very mentally, not disturbing, but mentally disruptive to your mental state if you perform the way you do and then you get dropped, but then halfway through a series you get added into the team. Like, that doesn't show anybody confidence. It doesn't even show someone like Heinrich Klaassen confidence, because then what are you doing with Heinrich Klaassen in the first place if you were going to drop him if he doesn't perform in the first 2 games? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So the logic behind the selection and who they're picking, this doesn't give me, as a Proteas fan, a feeling of safety, like understanding and knowing, okay, this is what they're doing. Currently, I'm confused, and it shouldn't be the case. At least we know what the West Indies is trying to do. We can see it clearly. It's right there in front of us. They've identified roles for certain people. They've identified who's going to be batting where and what their roles are going to be. With us, we're confused because if you're saying that David Miller is the designated finisher, then why are you mixing up where he comes into the batting lineup all the time? Why are we making changes with him, pushing him up the order, pushing him down the order, being so indecisive with what his role is? Then say, okay, David Miller's 6, we're going to find a 5, we're going to find an opener. They make that decision, then we know. But he's currently been moved around constantly, brought in at certain times, not brought in at certain times. Some people think that David should even be a number 3 or number 4. They don't believe that he should. Someone suggested in the comment section the other day that he should open the batting. So, like, I mean, it's nobody knows, and that's the problem currently. And making Bavuma captain. Now, I've seen things that Bavuma has done in the series as a batter, but from a captaincy point of view with the bowlers that I was thinking marvelous. For example, in the last game, almost every single bowling change he made brought a wicket. In this particular up until that period of the first 16 overs, almost every bowling change that he made got wickets. Like, he made seriously good decisions in the middle overs there to keep the West Indies at bay and strike at the right times. Apart from maybe Aiden Markram opening the bowling, I mean, at first I was like, it makes sense to get Aiden's overs out of the way. If he can just keep it under 20 runs that he concedes in under 20 runs, it might be, if we can strike early, and we did, we can keep West Indies at bay. And it actually worked out fine. But when you concede 60 runs in the last 4, it switches everything around, and questions are being asked again about him. But I don't want to blame Bavuma for that, because I think that the execution from Kagiso and Lungi in that period was not good enough. It needed to be better. They bowled into Pollard's hands. So it's one of those things that I'm upset about, that the way we handled that. What can we do? What can we do for the next game, Aditya? What would you do for the next game? That has to be the question, I guess. Do we drop anybody? Is it about keeping consistency? I mean, there's so much that we can discuss with regards to that. I just want to check something on the score sheet, because I might have been wrong there with what I just said now. I just want to look at the scorecard again, and just think about the way they bowled. So Aiden Markram in that first over, I mean, 20 runs is too much, but it kind of got it away. It gave us still an opportunity to recover from it. That's why they got it out of the way, because that destruction would have happened at any point, I feel. They got it out of the way at the front, and then they came back from that instantly. So when they had the West Indies at 89 for 5, right? Even 101 for 6 in 15 overs. Like, I mean, no one would have expected them to get to 167. And people have to take responsibility for that. Players have to take responsibility for that. And unfortunately, Kagiso and Lungi didn't bowl well in that period, and they were punished. And I don't know what the reasons for that is. Sometimes you just get it wrong. But even though that happened, we should have been able to chase down 167. No, man. We should have been able to chase down 168. I think this game was not lost by the bowlers. Like, it seemed to come across like that in the press conference. I got that vibe, and maybe that wasn't his intention. Maybe we're looking at it the wrong way, but I got that vibe from the press conference that it was the bowlers kind of that put us in a tricky situation, and that was not the case. I think the batsman didn't come to the party. Bavuma didn't have to play that shot. If he's trying to get the ball rolling and bat deep, there's no need for that shot so early. I don't think that Rassie played the correct shot. But Rassie is difficult to criticize because he's been the rock in South Africa's side for so long. I mean, in the first game, he came to the party, nobody came to the party with him. And maybe it's the right time now for us to fail because we don't want these things to be happening in the World Cup. But my question is, are we on the right path with regards to making the right decisions to get there? Are we doing the right things to be able to build a team that we can confidently say can challenge for the World Cup?
We're not. South Africa is not on the right track, unfortunately, because the truth of the matter is, and what you said is absolutely right. The game wasn't lost by the bowlers. The bowlers are going to have a bad day. They've won you the last two games, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna be able to starve the West Indies of those six hitting deliveries. And the batsmen didn't come to the party. It's as simple as that. And my frustration with what's been going on is that if you look at the resources that South Africa has, okay, that have been a part of this batting order for this series. Quinny we know is going to open. Temba we know is going to be 3. Rassi we know is going to be 4. And David Miller we know is going to be 5 or 6. Right? So you've actually got four of your 6 set. Now, Quinny has performed in 2 games. Rassi was the star in the first game. After that, there was literally no wisdom in moving Rassi from 4 to 5. There was absolutely no need to do that. When the team had identified that the most difficult time to bat is from overs 10 to 20. Because, I mean, the team wanted to continue the momentum that they've got in the first 10 overs, which is why they've put Aiden at 4. But the truth of the matter is that he has struggled as well. So now what is the point of having Aiden at 4, give him a couple of knocks, and then, sure enough, Rassi's going to be moving back to 4 in the next series? It doesn't make any sense at all. So we discussed right at the beginning that the criteria for selection has to be performance at domestic level, what the gaps in the team are, whether this individual can fulfill the role. It's that, and I don't feel like selections have been made to justify that. And they haven't been adaptable. If you look at the scorecard from the game, West Indies played 50 dot balls yesterday. South Africa played 48. But the difference is that West Indies hit 11 sixes. South Africa hit 4.
Sure.
So that tells you that
Unbelievable.
obviously tells you that the West Indies got more 6 hitting deliveries, but that they also trust, like, when Pollard connects, he's going to get it most of the time. Right? But what that also tells me is that the West Indies can afford to take 50 dot balls because they have the ability to hit those sixes. I don't necessarily agree with that game plan because that can also lose you more games. But with South Africa, they have to rotate strike better. You can't play 48 dot balls on difficult tracks. It doesn't work.
So my point is here, right? Why are they forcing batsmen to play an aggressive brand? Why is it forced on them? Not all of them are like that. South Africa can still score runs without smashing the ball out of the park. It's not necessary. It's not necessary from everybody. We need to. There's certain players that we can identify that can do that job. Rassi can do that job when his eye is in. Someone like Quinton can do it when he's from any moment. You never know when it's going to happen. Riza showed that he's capable of doing it, but he needs to find the balance of when to go and when not to go. He might just need to play. It's almost like Riza's trying to be aggressive with Quinton when he doesn't need to be. He can take his time to get in because Quinton is firing like you can't believe. He doesn't need to accelerate at the same pace as Quinton. In the power play, give Quinton as much opportunity to bat as possible. Let him exploit the gaps. He's going to be the way we're going to score a lot of runs in the power play. So let him get that. Rotate the strike if you're feeling that Quinton needs to step back. hit a couple of, he doesn't need to go big and lose his wicket, because that's how he's losing his wickets. He's going big. He's not losing his wicket by being bowled because he's playing a defensive shot. He's trying to smack the ball out the park and play a big shot, and he's losing his wicket. That first, when was it the first game that he played when he double stepped and went down, and he double stepped, but he almost played a defensive shot where it's like he didn't like commit to a double step trying to hit the ball straight down the ground at the park. He like double stepped and he just pushed forward at the ball and he got stumped. I mean, there's certain things which you can see approach in certain things in the way they are approaching the game and the way they are performing. You can see certain attitudes in the way that they're performing. So all I want, and I say it over and over and over again, and I'm hoping that Boucher tells his players this: if these South African batsmen, if these are the 6 that you want to pick, now I'm assuming, I know that I saw that the Caribbean Cricket Podcast asking early on in the chat, and I couldn't bring it on the screen right now, but he asked about our 6th bowling option and if there's anybody in the squad. Currently, no, because we heard that Magala is currently has a little ankle niggle, and that's the reason why he's not available. Vian Mulder, we're not sure about his batting in the T20 format necessarily. If they trust him with his batting with regards to being a I think he's more of a bowling option, but he is a 6th bowling option if you do trust him in his batting. George is supposed to be the 6th extra bowling option, the 2nd spinner. But the 6th bowling option was supposed to be Dwayne Pretorius, and I think that's where they're going with it. I think Dwayne Pretorius is going to be the guy that they're looking at, but he's not necessarily a batsman that can bowl. He's more a bowler that can bat. So we're in those scenarios again, where Aiden is the only guy currently that we have that can be a 6th bowling option that can bat and bowl. He needs to be a little bit tighter and bowl a little better in those teams. So we need to think about those things very carefully. And currently we don't have a Pollard that can hit 50 or 20 balls. We don't have that currently. So we can't create this out of thin air. It's not like all-rounders grow on trees. So like we can't just find an all-rounder that can bat and bowl out of nowhere. Because I consider Pollard a batting all-rounder, not a bowling all-rounder.
Someone's got to fix that relationship between Chris Morris and Graham Smith. Someone's got to do it, because
someone does.
Chris Morris is desperately needed in this team. You know, in an interview that he had done with the Rajasthan Royals, he said that there are players who are paid to consolidate and there are players who are paid to slog. I know what I'm paid to do. That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes for what his role is, how he understands it, and the way he trains. So that man is literally training to hit every ball out of the park. And we've already seen him do that in the IPL this year. Not to mention that his bowling has improved considerably as well. His death over statistics in the IPL are phenomenal. That's why they paid the big bucks for him. But someone needs to fix Chris Morris's relationship with CSA. Because right now, if there was a choice between Ben Pretorius and Morris, I'd still pick Morris. No question about it. And with I still
believe. I still think that Dwayne Pretorius is a better batsman than Morris. Me personally, but Morris has a different type of X factor. I think Morris understands his game a lot better, and the experience around the world will do wonders for this team. And I think we need to have everybody available if we want a chance in this World Cup. Morris, Tahir, Faf, we need all of them available. They all need to be available. At least give Boucher the option of picking it or not. Then at least we can say, Boucher, it's your fault. I still think that also that Boucher needs to take responsibility with us, because there is a lot of pressure from the staff to play this aggressive brand of cricket, and not everybody is necessarily suited to it. I still strongly believe that in South Africa, we have enough players that if they play their natural games, we can play an attacking brand of cricket. They don't all need to become sloggers. And it's almost like everybody's trying to be that. Good cricket shots also work. Virat Kohli shown it for years. Good cricket shots also get you boundaries. Okay, AB de Villiers' 360 is phenomenon, but he plays good cricket shots to get those big sixes. Timing of the ball is phenomenal. That's why he scores amazing runs. He's not big hitting slogging. He's not just swinging and hoping. And it looks like our players are doing that. They're not trying to time the ball correctly, find the gaps, and play those type of good shots to get balls. I mean, that's what I want us to be able to do. And they need to get Chris Morris back. They need to get Imran Tahir back. They need to get Faf du Plessis and make sure that he's going to play in that World Cup and identify his role in that team beforehand. Not, might be a 3, might be a 4, might be a 1. They need to identify each person's role and tell them, look here, go out there, play your natural games, we'll be fine. Because that, I think, is what we need to do. That's exactly what I think we need to do. So, yeah, South Africa have a lot to learn. And there's not enough time to learn now. You need to decide what you're going to do now because we're getting confused. There's no time to still test things anymore. We need to know who our best batsmen are. And you need to give Yana Manamalan a chance at the top of the order. I think that needs to happen because if you have him in the squad, you're identifying him as a player. Bring in a guy like Lazard Williams who can bowl a Yorker consistently. Because please, if bowlers... There was an excellent comment here from Clickbait. I'm going to have to go find it quickly. He said, yeah, I remember it though. He said, we are picking players on what they can do and not what they are currently doing. And not what they are doing. That is 100% true. Because we are picking, for example, if Miller's not performing, drop Miller. Have the balls to do it. Currently, Bavuma's captain, right? And they made Bavuma captain. And now it's almost like he's undroppable. But I don't believe that anybody's undroppable when you're building for a World Cup. When you're building for a World Cup, nobody's undroppable, even the captain. That's what I strongly believe. They need to pick the right players with the right form to build the momentum for that World Cup. In the World Cup, they can't be messing around like that in the World Cup. They obviously need to pick the best players on form. You can't have something like a captaincy that makes you undroppable, or a vice captaincy that makes you undroppable, or your reputation that makes you undroppable. If you want to win, you win. I'll give you a good example. Portugal, they didn't go through. But Portugal, the Portuguese coach had the balls to drop someone like Bruno Fernandes, who was the number 1 scoring midfielder and assist maker in the world. On reputation, he should be picked every single game. But they dropped him. We need our people to have the right... No way should Klaasen replace... I'm not saying that, Harshit. And I think you are very, very biased towards David Miller because I think for you, Miller can bat in any position and he'll be the best thing since sliced bread. But to be honest, he hasn't performed this entire series. Let's just be real about it. And we need our senior players to take responsibility and perform. So I don't believe anybody, so nobody is undroppable. Not KG, not Quinton, not any of them. Now, Quinton is a very sensitive topic because I feel that you never know what you're going to get with Quinton de Kock. So he has to play every game because you don't know if he's going to perform like he did. It's one of those risks that you just have to take with a guy like Quinton. He's someone that you need to do that. And people are talking over here about nonsense. Bavuma is undroppable even if he isn't captain because of quota. I'm saying this is my opinion. I'm not saying that this is South Africa's opinion. CSA, I don't know what they believe. I don't know what Boucher believes, what he currently thinks about it, and who he thinks are the guys that that are undroppable and whether he thinks people are undroppable or not. It's a question that we should actually ask him in the press conference when we get him again. Does he believe that people are undroppable in the side? Because when you're in a World Cup, I don't think people should be labeled as undroppable. You need to pick the guys that had. You need to pick the guys that were exactly. You said Bruno Fernandes had an average Euro, and they dropped him. So that's my point exactly. In a tournament like that, you need to win. You can't be picking on sentiment. I don't believe that I don't believe that the quota system should be in place for the World Cup. I think that quotas should be dropped for the World Cup. They should pick the best team in form, best guys that are in form for that period. That's what I believe. So they need to make a decision on that. I don't understand what they're currently doing and how they are selecting the team. Nobody showed me something that I can say, you know what, guys, this guy must bat in that position. And I love every single batsman in our team, and I respect them as cricketers 100%. But know that none of them, except for Quinton de Kock, has given me a reason to say, you know what, you have that spot. That spot is yours. So bowling wise, George Linde and Shamsi, my word, they've been excellent. Andrik Nokia has been the best bowler in the series so far, from a fast bowler's perspective. And Gide's been poor. He had a good last game. I was very impressed with the way he bounced back after those opening performances that he had. He was poor again yesterday, missing his lines, missing his lengths, not doing enough slower ball bounces, not getting enough slower balls into the box. So there's a lot of problems. And I hope that even if they win the last match and they win the series, I hope they don't ignore the issues that we have. I hope they are open and honest with each other. And I hope they are honest with each other and those conversations are honest, including Bavuma's with himself as well. I hope they are honest with each other, look each other in the eyes and have an honest conversation and understand that if they want to get out of that group with those teams, even Afghanistan, they need to have their ducks in line. Is there anything you want to say, Aditya?
This series was meant to be that platform that South Africa then use to be able to create the World Cup side. I don't know if South Africa are any closer to doing that, because to be perfectly honest, whether it's selection, whether it's tactics or execution, I think South Africa has been found wanting in all departments. The only advantage at this stage for South Africa is that if they win this fifth game, they'll take a lot of confidence out of the fact that they've won a series decider, and that's going to be important. It's been a while since South Africa have really fought tooth and nail to win a series like that, so that to me is quite important. But in saying that, the team, the public, everyone needs a lot more clarity on what that final 15 or 20 member squad is going to look like. And certainly with respect to Faf du Plessis' availability, Imran Tahir, Chris Morris, Dwayne Pretorius, their availability for the T20 World Cup. Because right now, role clarity is lacking. We're seeing that the Proteas is not an adaptable outfit. We keep hearing that it's difficult to bat from 10 to 20. But then it's also we're not seeing a game plan to suit that difficult patch. And certainly one place where I feel like South Africa are lacking is that if they've identified 180 as a target, then they need to go above 55 and 60 in the first 10 overs. They need to be striking even harder. So I think there's a lot of work for South Africa to do. But most importantly, at this point, it's to identify the personnel that they've got for the World Cup. Simple as that.
Yeah. And I'm concerned that the series win, because our bowlers have been excellent and they can pull off it's possible for them to pull off a series win. And I'm afraid of it peppering over the cracks. I'm concerned that it might be that, because our bowlers would have won us the series, I think, unless there's an amazing performance from our batsmen in the next game, which I'm hoping we get to see that. We were asking for our batsmen to get tested. Boucher was asking for us to get tested under pressure. The time is now, Bouch. This last game against the West Indies, with the West Indies coming off the form that off momentum now from a win, this is the time that your players are going to be put under pressure. There's going to be a lot of questions asked, and I hope that the analysis happens so that we can properly build a squad that we can say, you know what, let's give it our best shot at the World Cup. I don't want us to give it 80% or 70% or 60% shot and say, oh, we never really had the squad. I don't want that excuse. I want us to pick a team, and you can't force a type of ideology. You have to choose of ideology according to the players you have available to you. And that's the honest truth. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. We spoke about a lot. We spoke about the game itself. We spoke about what you'd like to see in the next game. Please subscribe if you're new and click that notification bell for all future videos. What I'd like you also to do, please, is download our latest issue of the magazine, Cricket Fanatics Magazine. It's available for all of you. The link is on the screen and in the description. It's 100% free. This issues and the back issues, all 100% free. So please go ahead and become a subscriber today and support us. As best as you can. Smash that like button, comment, and share. And let's see what happens in the final T20. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll see you again tomorrow with another... we'll see you guys later at 7 o'clock for a daily show. Take care, everybody.